loved one suffer from a substance disorder, also known as addiction? Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm here to talk about the opioid crisis in Georgia. You are not alone. According to the Southeast Addiction Center, in 2018, 47,600 individuals died from opioid-related overdoses. With nearly 50,000 people already dead, something's got to be done to get this crisis to subside. Rehab facilities, therapy sessions, as well as education on these substances have been made available to the general public with little to no charge in hopes of getting these astronomical rates to fall. According to Leah Chan on June 7, 2022, from 2019 to 2021, fentanyl-related overdoses increased by a staggering 218%, making drug-related overdoses the leading cause of premature death for Georgians by 2020. This is hardly a unique situation. According to the Georgia Department of Public Health, stimulant-related overdoses have been increasing in Georgia. The number of stimulant-related overdoses have increased by 546% from 2010 to 2020. With upsurging numbers like this, leaves the government with only a few options, being mandatory rehabilitation services for individuals convicted of drug charges, prescription drug programs, as well as the implementation of new drug laws. In evaluating the reoccurring problems these dangerous drugs leave on society, it only makes sense for the state to take action in finding the leading cause of these astronomical rates and produce a long-term solution that enforces lower death rates. Secondly, the government should analyze specific resolutions in which this crisis could be permanently eliminated. Finally, the state should use precautions when transforming their analysis into solutions and expound upon their analysis, generating a lifelong resolution to drug abuse in Georgia. In order to generate a solution to such a concerning crisis within Georgians today, it is crucial that individuals understand the severities these issues withhold. Such problems include, first, failure to educate individuals on these life-taking drugs, resulting in higher death rates, and second, insufficient drug control proposed to the public, resulting in high drug activity. What are the problems with education on drug in Georgia? According to the documentary If They Had Known on July 18, 2015, had they really known, accidental deaths like this wouldn't continue to consume society. Clay Sopper, a thriving college student, home for the summer, attended a house party. While at the party, Clay combined a prescribed medication, Xanax, with alcohol, claiming he knew what he was doing and that he would be fine. While the recreational act of mixing drugs and alcohol is at an all-time high within high schools and college campuses all around the world, accidental death rates due to substance abuse have increased by 34.4% in 2020. The party combined as none of the college students had any actual education on mixing drugs with alcohol when suddenly Clay's respiratory system and heart stopped. He was dead. Nobody knew the true repercussions of this immature act. Nobody knew this would be Clay's last party. Due to lack of education, Clay was chosen as the unlucky one that night. Also due to lack of education, many of Clay's friends now carry the burden of why their heart still beats, but Clay's does not. Education is a crucial component when adding illicit drugs to your everyday lifestyle. Due to insufficient education on high-risk factors drugs carry, especially when combined with other substances, substance abuse has become the leading cause of death within the U.S. Tragedies such as an unexpected death like this need more education and attention to endure the practice of prevention. While education on these commonly known fatal drugs such as heroin and fentanyl, are scarce for the general public, recent studies show that doctors prescribing these medications do not carry the sufficient education needed and therefore are resulting in higher fentanyl overdoses deaths. There were 71 opioid prescriptions written for every 100 people in Georgia, compared to the national average of 59 per 100. 71 per 100 is the lowest number Georgia has seen since 2006. The largest number of opioid-related overdose deaths in Georgia was attributed to prescription opioids, totaling 568 deaths. With statistics like this, the practice of irresponsible prescribing of strong opioids medications are detrimental to the chaos provoked by addiction. What can be done to subside this substantial crisis in Georgia? Accidental deaths due to the substance abuse are consuming Georgia's overall death rates. It is time that Georgia takes control and stop allowing drugs to consume society. According to the Georgia Department of Public Health Opioid and Substance Misuse Response article, in 2020, 67% of drug overdose deaths in Georgia were related to opioids, totaling 1,309 deaths. Stimulant-related overdoses have also been increasing in Georgia. The number of stimulant-related overdose deaths rose 546% in 10 years alone, due to very little amounts of education provided for these life-taking drugs and outrageously high death rate numbers proposed as a result of consumption forces the mandatory act of rehabilitation services if convicted of drug charges, Centers for Drug Control Preventions, as well as reducing the exposure to lessen the chance of individuals getting their hands on these substances. The act of nationwide enforcement activities to seize and arrest drug abusers with local communities around the world have become a common practice for local enforcement programs concerning the need for crisis to end. Improvements on education systems to better address the drug use and its consequences have been implemented to reduce the number of fatal accidents. Throughout the entirety of this speech, I have discussed a few crucial areas of evaluation regarding the upsurging numbers of drug-related deaths in Georgia. We first discussed the issue and explored many different kinds of drug overdoses. Second, we recognized the substantial lifelong impacts being left behind on our society. And lastly, we examined some of the long-term solutions to this issue. You are not alone. There is still a fighting chance. According to the Global Health Observatory in 2019, there were 180 million drug-related deaths reported. There have been rehabilitation centers implemented in most countries in hopes of bringing these astronomical rates down. It is time that we take over and stop letting drugs consume our society. I would now like to turn your attention to this visual aid I have presented. Overdoses kill more of us than breast cancer, car accidents, and guns combined. And in this chart, you can see that in 1999, we had the lowest rate of all for death rates leading opioid deaths, while in 2020, we hit an all-time high for death rates from opioids. More than 263,000 Americans have lost their lives due to overdosing involving prescription opioids from 1999 to 2020. More than 68,000 Americans have died from an opioid overdose in 2020, involving RX prescription opioids and illicit drugs. While 75% of the nearly 92,000 drug overdoses deaths in 2020, they all involved an opioid.